James Harden, since leaving Houston, he's become one of the more polarizing players in the NBA. Even with the Rockets, whether it was fair or not, we know he had the reputation of being a playoff choker with some pretty underwhelming performances and some pretty big moments. But with everything he carried and how great he was in the regular season, it was only so much you can blame James Harden for specifically, especially going against teams like Golden State. But now, where he is in his career, with 3 messy trade requests in the last 3 years, completely abusing player empowerment, and still having lackluster performances in the playoffs in the biggest moments, the heat on James Harden is really ramped up. He obviously still has the stigma of not being the most reliable playoff star, but now you can add a bit unprofessional, which you really couldn't say before. And the last 2 teams that traded for him seems to be regretting it shortly after. But James, he isn't the only one. He's just the face of criticism currently. In this video, we're going to talk about the most criticized players in the NBA and exactly why they get the heat they do. Today's video is sponsored by Manscaped. Today, I'm excited to present you one of my favorite new, extremely convenient tools that Manscaped now has to offer. Manscaped's new Handyman is exactly what you need at home, especially on the go, and really anywhere to get a quick, effective shave. First off, it delivers a quick, extremely close shave with a unique dual blade system. It also features a standard foil shaver as well as a long hair leveler blade to cut down at least 3 days worth of growth. Manscaped always wants to give you the cleanest shave, so it also features skin safe technology to prevent those annoying nicks and cuts. Like a lot of their products, it's waterproof, so you can use it in the shower if you please, and in my opinion, it just looks great in hand. If you guys want the quickest, most convenient shave, go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with my promo code SWISH at checkout. That's 20% off plus free shipping only at manscaped.com. This video was actually motivated by Paul George's podcast episode with Stephen A. I just found it very interesting to hear the player side and the media side within this relationship in sports. Both Stephen A. and Paul George, they both expressed their sides and how it feels to be criticized, how it feels to critique, what's fair and what's not. And to me, it was just a healthy conversation. I highly recommend. But Stephen A. did say something that resonated with me. In the playoffs, the critiques hit different because you have to live with them all summer. The reigning MVP Joel Embiid, he's now become the face of this type of criticism where he's absolutely ridiculous in the regular season and routinely disappointing in the playoffs. Last year, after not winning the MVP for 2 consecutive years, we all knew he made it a point of emphasis to dominate, lead the league in points, destroy Jokic in that February matchup, score over 40 points 13 times. But in the playoffs, where your performances matter most and when you're weighed on a completely different scale, he consistently turns into a different guy, and he did that last year. Last playoffs, Joel Embiid picked Game 7, the last game, the most important game of the season, to have his worst performance of the year, regular season or the playoffs. Last postseason, Joel Embiid had the biggest point per game drop-off by an MVP in the history of the league. Joel Embiid is the only MVP currently to never make a conference finals. Joel Embiid, historically, he's been terrible in elimination games. All of this, despite how great he is in the regular season, the MVPs, all of that, it makes him the face of playoff choke jobs currently. Ja Morant is the prime example of going from the media's darling to somewhat of their target instantly, and really it's all been self-inflicted. In 2021, Ja won the most improved player. He was a fan favorite. His endorsements became more prevalent. In Memphis, they became a major draw television-wise for basketball, mainly because of him. But since all of that success, Ja's been in multiple incidents with guns and off-the-court stuff that doesn't represent the NBA well, especially from one of their marquee faces. 5 alleged incidents in like 1 calendar year, most notably the one last year in March where he was holding a gun on camera in a club in Denver. Seemed extremely apologetic about it, got suspended for 8 games, had that weird interview with Jalen Rose, and then 2 months later, right after being eliminated from the playoffs and addressing him being a distraction for the team during the season, he's back on camera with another gun. Now he's suspended for 25 games of the following season, a whole new look team, which could possibly set that team back a little further. But somehow he's not even the most criticized player in his draft because Zion, well, this man can't stay on the court either. In the last 2 years, Zion Williamson has played 29 games total. In his career now, he averages 30 games a year in an 82-game season. The Pelicans, they've made the playoffs or the play-in twice since he's been there. He hasn't been a part of any of their action. And what always makes Zion so frustrating is how dominant the Pelicans have been when he's on the court, and even how solid they've been without him. Last year, that team was literally at the top of the West in that little 2-month stint with Zion. Even with them being 3 games below 500 without him, they had a plus 28 point differential in a 53-game sample size. They hold down the fort as much as possible. This man is on one of the best young teams in the league with a lot of young talent in extremely important areas. He's literally the only thing holding that team back, and that's why he gets slammed. Russell Westbrook has always been one of the more polarizing players in the NBA, but his level of criticism, it went through the roof once he joined LeBron and, most importantly, the Lakers. Russ's style, we knew it never fit that roster. Russ is way too turnover prone, he's way too ball dominant, and he's way too inefficient to fit with that team. And on top of all of that, his contract was massive. Unfairly, he got killed for Rob Pelinka trading away all of their depth and him not being able to live up to the trade, and it made him low-hanging fruit for the better part of 2 years. Now, thank God, he's in a great situation, but 5 teams in 5 years, Russ, he's had it hard since leaving OKC where he was loved. Ben Simmons, he's the player that we all had so much confidence and hope for like 5 years ago, but it seemed like he peaked damn near as a rookie, and currently it looks like he lost all of his confidence. I always try to make this a point of emphasis. Nobody's really mad at Ben Simmons for not shooting threes specifically. Yeah, that would be nice, but that's not what anybody's really expecting. It's just the fact that he's gotten progressively unaggressive in general, scoring the ball. His field goal attempts has steadily gone down since he joined the league, regular season and the playoffs. And he never really added anything to his bag offensively since his rookie year, which predictably led to massive playoff letdowns. And currently, it looks like he's on the worst contract in the sport. And speaking of worst contracts, Rudy Gobert is also a player that gets slammed by players, legends, fans, everybody, mainly because of the money he makes versus the value he really brings. I'm sorry, it's just the facts. Offense and defense, it's not equal in basketball, and the Timberwolves, they're paying him $40 million plus annually to be 90th in points per game a night, and that just doesn't sit well with a lot of fans. And defensively, whether it's fair or not, because he played with some bad defenders in Utah, some people think he's overvalued there, and that's where he makes his money. On top of all of that, he was recently traded last summer for this insane package, which obviously added more slander and critiques to everything he's not as a quote-unquote star. So that's why he gets slammed. Anthony Davis, he gets heat to me for 3 reasons. He plays for the Lakers, he plays with LeBron, and he's a bit too inconsistent for that limelight. Inconsistent with his health. Since winning that championship, AD, he's missed 15 game plus stretches 4 times in the last 3 seasons. 4 times he had to miss 15 consecutive games. He's way too good and way too valuable to that team to miss that amount of time consistently. Also, even with how dominant he is, offensively, he can be a little up and down. In last year's playoffs, the first 9 games was pretty much a roller coaster. Big games offensively, and then kind of mid lackluster games where he will have like 15 points. So with the team he plays for and the legend he plays for, he doesn't really get to let up, and inconsistencies is truly the focal point of all of his criticism. Kyrie Irving, even with how magical and how dynamic he is individually, he just hasn't been able to shake the label of not being a winning player without LeBron. Boston, they got better without him. Brooklyn, they couldn't keep him on the court, and KD ironically had a better record with Brooklyn without him. Last year, it wasn't his fault at all, but Dallas, they imploded once they traded for him. Also, Kyrie, we know he's been one of the more criticized athletes for his beliefs and how he's gone about him, and really his unprofessionalism at times, and him not really being a dependable player. That's why he gets slammed. Kevin Durant, he gets his heat for like the 3 S's: sensitivity, him being on super teams, and Steph. Kevin Durant, he's always going at it with some Joe on Twitter about his resume. Kevin Durant, he always finds himself on some crazy team on paper where it looks like they're predominant favorites. And oddly enough, Kevin Durant, since leaving Steph, It seems like the internet put him in this odd competition with Steph about who was actually more valuable to that team. At least that's what the internet did. If you guys like this video, the man that's probably the most criticized, I probably left off this list, LeBron, and that's because we numb to that. A man made a whole career off of that. Follow my social media sites, turn on post notifications, do all that great stuff, guys, and until next time, as always, stay tuned.